Hi, welcome to AgileTD After Work. So today we're back here and we have Linda van der Vooren with us talking about test automation solution that she believes in or you believe in. That's very nice. And so Linda, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
How are you?
I'm doing good today. I'm very excited to give this presentation. It's the very first time today.
Oh, yes, but it's going to be good, I guess. So you have been a few times at the Agile testing days, right?
Yes,
Do you know how many times have you been there?
I've been to the conference 4 times and as a speaker 3 times.
Wow. So
Yeah.
7 times. Wow. Not bad. Not bad.
Well, they overlap, so
Overlap. Okay.
it's 4 times in total.
4 times. Okay, 4 times in total.
Yeah.
Okay, that's also a lot. So there's
Yeah.
very nice. Okay. So thanks so much for being there and for the will of speaking at AgileTD After Work. So I will go to the back and I will bring your presentation to the front so that you can start presentation. So enjoy. Okay, and see you later.
All right. Welcome all to Automation Solutions You Believe in. My name is Linda van der Vooren. I'm a quality consultant working for Bartels in the Netherlands. I've been a tester for over 15 years and I still very much love what I do. And this story is about one of my assignments. It's an assignment at a very large Dutch bank where at one of the first times I went to the office, they have one of these robots in the lobby and it gave me a jump scare because it was stuck in the corner right next to the elevator and it came out trying to help me and I didn't expect a robot to be there. So when I started at that bank, one of the first surprises I got was that they were going to do the Spotify Agile way. So there was a tribe where there were areas and there were squads like scrum teams and there were chapters and guilds and they were just setting all that up. And in the middle of all that, they were going to recreate the world of credit risk. And that's a very, very big project because credit risk isn't just one little application that you want to do something with. It's on the back end of the bank in all the banking systems. So this was really big. And why it's important that we were in a skilled agile type of organization, I'll come back to later. So we were going to do something with credit risk. I would probably think they would prefer me to look at it this way. Because credit risk is something that, especially in the EU from the European Central Bank, you need to be able to say what type of risk any loan to anyone the bank has. You can imagine that that's very complicated because a person might have just a personal loan, maybe they have a mortgage, maybe they have a company, maybe there's a very large multinational with a lot of loans. You can imagine that it kind of looked like this. And then if you look at credit risk and how to make sense of it, because in the end you have one of 4 credit risk levels, it can get very complicating. They actually tried to visualize how complicating the banking structures were with this picture. Every little box is an application or a database, and every line you can see is some kind of connection between systems. And this was meters long and high and very complicating. And I don't think they ever successfully finished it, but I'm not entirely sure. So let's go back to the project that this story is about. Let's look at the Cynefin framework, because the Cynefin framework actually very much highlights what went wrong here. Management thought that we were in clear and complicated, but all the people doing the actual work thought it was more chaotic and complex. And if you don't agree on where you are in this framework, you have challenges. So I could talk for a full hour on the Cynefin framework, but we're not going to do that. This is a very nice picture. To me, it more feels like this usually. Anyway, we were not in agreement on where we were. At an organization level, the bank thought that we should do some sort of test to be sure that all these extra systems that we're building new to make credit risk work together and work well with the existing banking systems. They did come to the conclusion that looking at old-fashioned end-to-end tests with 20 people that take weeks or months to get through they're no longer viable. They take too long, they are too expensive, and you want to run those tests earlier. So they were convinced that we shouldn't do this, but at the same time, there were still a lot of people at the bank that thought it was a very good idea to do end-to-end tests, especially when we do a big go live, as scary as this. So at a team level, I mostly saw teams struggling to get their deliverables done and working in the chain of processes. Teams that were mature in their automation processes often didn't have their integration set up well. There were teams that were really mature, and there were teams that had no maturity at all. There was one team where the Scrum Master said, "We don't really test. I usually do 2 or 3 clicks through the system before a go live." Some had no automation. There were very big individual differences in maturity. And this also is not just a picture of a team struggling, it's also the picture of management trying to get this program to production. Because you can't big bang a big go live like this with a big number of applications and a big number of integrations. We had to make a good plan and do it step by step. First, I thought, how am I going to get everyone to let go of the old way of thinking that we need a full end-to-end test where we retest everything that was tested before? I decided to make 5 rules. We need a clear working process. We need to be risk-based. We need a clear endpoint. We need continuous insight, and we need to actively work together to improve the process. My goal was to design chain tests that were so small that by some point the risks were low enough that we would be able to test this at the system integration level. So, a small example. A small example of a process chain that we were working with. Part of clear working processes meant that I made agreements with each squad that they were responsible for their own tests and risks. I helped them set up product risk assessments to assess if they were doing that right. They were responsible to do their own unit tests, system tests, integration tests. Check your own system and everything that comes into and out of it. Then we did a high-level product risk assessment on the whole chain, on a chain level. These high-level risks were the starting point of what our chain test would be, that would assess the working process, but not anything at the lower level of these applications. My go-to phrase in this time was "no risk is no test." And still people had trouble letting go of the idea of the old-fashioned end-to-end test. So I, at some point, had a meeting, and I invited a lot of the managers, and we had a bit of a ceremony. We put the end-to-end to rest. We're not going to do the end-to-end test anymore. I kept having to explain myself, but at some point I only had to pull up this picture, and they were like, yes, okay, so we chain test. And the chain test has a whole different goal. The teams were not the difficulty here, the managers were. They were stuck in their way of thinking, and they were convinced that they were right. And that makes it very difficult to have a disagreement with someone if they are convinced that they are right. So I kept having to sell this idea over and over again. With every go live, we reassessed the chain risks. So we first brought live all the private individuals, then the businesses, then we went to parts around the world. And every time the chain risks became smaller and smaller because we knew that what was already running well in production was working perfectly. And yay for us, it was working perfectly. We had some production incidents, but we didn't have the, hey, why wasn't this found in testing discussion? So finally, after the second to last go live was passed, we came to a point where the residual risk on the chain level risks was so low that we could go live with just a solid system integration test. So we didn't just kill the end-to-end test, we also stopped doing chain tests. So were we there? Did we have a good automated solution? I saw some expectations go different ways. Management was convinced that everyone is doing test automation and we could go live at any moment. But in reality, test automation for a lot of teams looked more like this. They had some automation, but the level of automation strongly differed. And there was very little test automation in place at the process level. With more manual actions and mistakes. So bringing this to management showed me that there was a huge knowledge gap in what they understood of the quality of their products and what the quality actually was. Before this moment, I'd focused on getting the new credit chain risk live, and now that I saw there was a bigger problem. Before I focused on getting the chain risks identified, and now I saw we have an automation issue. And in doing the chain tests, I'd gotten to know a lot of the testers throughout the whole chain, and some of them were really talented. They had a very good idea of how the quality process would work a lot better, but they weren't heard by their manager. Their manager, who wasn't a real technical guy, he heard them say, I need more responsibility. But that's an entirely different conclusion than them trying to get him to listen and to get him on board on their automation solution. So I needed to find a way to get the managers to listen. So how do you make managers listen? Show them where and how they're going to be in pain. What is going to hurt them? Their pain was hiding in the fact that one go live still took very long to plan and to do, because some of the system integration tests, most of them actually, were still manual tests that teams had to set up, plan, do, and that could take up to a week in a very a good scenario, and in a worse scenario, several sprints of 3 weeks. So from the chain test that we did before, it was clear to me that on a system integration level, we were lacking automation. And there were still many teams that didn't have automation at all, and they didn't know how to start. So I showed them that pain. I visualized to them how many teams weren't actually up to par. And I got those talented testers that I just spoke about to present bits of ideas of how we could resolve that. I actively put the spotlight on these like they called themselves juniors. I don't think they acted as juniors, but they called themselves that. And the result was I got a very big opportunity along with these talented youngsters. I became the product owner of a test automation squad. We were set out to find and make a test framework that would help our service all the applications in our tribe, and perhaps even outside of it, to do the system integration tests automated. Because that would actually shorten our time to go live, and that would actually give insight into our functional chain on an automated level. Then became the starting period of this squad was difficult. We were a tribe with 3 areas, 30 squads, more applications. We had a very diverse tech stack that needed to be able to do a lot. So we did some proof of concepts. I'm always so scared that I'll just think of the other POC there is, point of contact. No, this is proof of concept. to show our results, and we were able to continue. Our backlog grew, and our solution also grew. So, what were the things that we worked on to explain to others what we were doing and how to actively help the tribe? As a test manager in a product owner role in a test automation squad, did I have extensive technical knowledge? Not at all. I had extensive knowledge of the chain, because when you do chain tests, you run into all sorts of awkward errors that no one has seen before. So I knew a lot of how the chain works and what needs which system to be able to process. But with these people in my squad, we had to talk on a meta level about technology, because I'm not an automation architect. But I could, however, very well understand what they needed, because back in the early days of my career, I did try to be one. So I knew what they needed, but I couldn't do the job. I could walk the walk, but I could not talk the talk. Is it the other way around? Maybe. So it was my job to ensure that they had free rein to make sure that they weren't held back by management, who would start to micromanage them from a point of trying to help, but actually interfering in the process. And we also had to find a way to explain to the people around us what we were doing, to their manager, my manager, that's not the same person, to the teams that we are servicing, to all of our colleagues. We have given so many presentations in that period, and what we put forward is show, don't tell. We showed our ideas and we showed what we were thinking about. And by showing what we were doing, we gained support, not just from our colleagues who were already supportive, but then actually said, hey, what they're working on sounds great. But also management started to catch on. And at some point, I caught the manager of the juniors in my team speaking to his colleagues about what awesome stuff we were doing. So it was working, but it took a lot of storytelling to get everyone on board. So where did we start? Of course, we started by making a pyramid, because what is a project without a pyramid? About what our actual goal was. Because to make sure people were not confused about end-to-end or chain, we wanted to put all of those terms to rest. Let's start at the bottom of this pyramid. There's unit tests. That's definitely something that the squad's developers themselves do. Then there's the part of app tests, which is a part of an application. It might be a module or a separate function. Then there's the single application test, a application by itself. And then there's multi-application tests. And this is where we were looking to make test automation. Because all these teams, they had their hands full with their own automation solutions. Some teams just started doing test automation. If we could make a framework that would help them, then everyone is helped, right? And that's actually what we did. There is a little point atop of the pyramid. Some of the applications had other specific testing needs, but those were outside of our scope. Our squad also picked up on some other tasks as well. Aside from multi-app automation, which you can see at the bottom here, we also looked at improving testing in the tribe and within squads. We helped squads start automation. And we also tried to present ourselves as the testing knowledge hub, because the more people come forward with questions, the more we can be a knowledge hub, in the sense of not that we are the oracle that knows all, but we know where to go to with your question if we don't know the answer, because we interviewed all these applications in the tribe about what technology they were using. In that way, we were a very good signpost on how to get what information where. To get management on board and updated on our current status and the status of all the squads in our tribe, we also created this maturity model. We used these maturity levels to assess where a squad or application was and how to get them to the level where we wanted to end up at first, which is level 3. Let's go through the levels. Test maturity is the first level, like get insights into test results. Know if your test passed or failed. Not every squad was able to do that. Cover requirements and get evidence. As a bank, you need to report to regulators, which means you need to be able to show your evidence and make sure that your evidence makes sense. That was the lowest level. The second level is technical maturity. We wanted standard code integration, pipeline automation, and a good release development framework. Because if you don't have your things in a pipeline, it's going to be difficult to go live whenever you want down the line, especially because you're connected to half the world. The third level, this is the level where we wanted to end up at first for MVP. Insight into the quality of the functional chain, which meant that we would have automated system integration tests. We didn't include all the applications in our MVP, but a set of applications, the set that was in the big go live before. And the last level is going live whenever you want, because the time to production would go from, well, the first go live took more than a year, the second one a quarter, and then we went down to a sprint. But what if you could limit your production time to the time it costs to run your pipeline? In making these processes and goals, I often try to let that be team-driven. I challenge the team to make something big in a very big and mature organization by making sure that I have their back and they can try and they can fail safely. They were able to learn freely, and they actually learned way more than they thought they would being in this squad. And that's the magic in being able to provide a safe environment for people to fail. Because we did a bunch of POCs and not all of them worked. We actually failed more than we succeeded, but in the end we found the right solutions. So after about a year, we were able to have a successful framework, not only creating the tests and creating the system integration tests by teams, but we also got other side quests beaten. But then we worked on this full-time with a whole squad for a whole year. And then management brought up the valid point that, do we still need to be a squad working on this full-time as a whole squad all the time? Probably not. So we started discussing, what does the future look like? And remember before, when we talked about this tribe structure, we actually put everyone into a chapter where the team members were going to be working in different squads while maintaining the framework that they were building. In that way, they could still provide help. They could still be the knowledge point in the tribe, and the framework would be maintained while they were also working in a different team, which also is great for their knowledge and their own career trajectory. So some key takeaways. How to deal with a manager that doesn't know test automation. Show them what they need to know. Show, don't tell. How to manage technical people when you don't have their technical skill set. Make a free environment for them so that they can fail without consequence. So that they can try something big and scary, learn a new language, and create a tool that maybe doesn't work, but maybe it's just what everyone needs. And how to challenge people to do big things. Again, creating that safe environment and helping them, letting them have the steering wheel of the squad, letting them be part of the discussion. That's how you get people to think and do big things. and how you actively having their back works. So this was my presentation. Thank you so much for your attention. Oh, I'm not hearing you, Jose.
I'm sorry, I was talking all the time and no one can. I was saying thank you so much. It was very nice. And I said, Karen, say hi, and Nadia is also there. So
Oh,
that's
great.
nice. We got one question here from Julian, and so you can read it if you want, and then you can answer.
Yes. At QDIP, we have decided to make our own test automation tool to solve challenges that existing tools didn't seem to solve. Yes, one of the problems that we had is that existing tools weren't able to cover a diverse set of tech stack. And the only way we could deal with that was by making our own. And that's still a hole in the market that I would love to see filled by a tool that could do that. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. So Karen, just she made a comment.
Yes, love the emphasis on being safe to fail, having the right fallback processes, and tech involved. Yes, psychological safety and learning is a pillar in being able to sell your idea and think big, for sure.
Nice. So the next one.
Yeah, my mindset talk, for sure. My mindset talk is about how you limit yourself in thinking and how you can easily fall into a trap of not being able to believe that you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it is somewhere on the internet if you know how to Google me, and you can find it somewhere.
Somewhere, yeah. If I mean, you can, if you find it, you just put the link in the comments, and the people can have a look on that. And if
Yes.
there's no more there on internet, we can have a second session so that you can, if you still has the slides, so you can
I do.
put it here again. Yeah. So also, thanks for the thoughts from Julian. Okay.
Thank you,
Thanks
Julian.
so much. It was a big pleasure, and hope to see you soon. And take care.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity.
And see you in Potsdam.
See you in Potsdam.
Bye bye. Thanks so much.